All right, Scott Grahm, here we go.
Yeah, good to see you, Chris.
Good having you on. So, Scott, you own Carefrontations, which we'll get into in a minute.
Yeah.
You're 38 years sober, you said.
Mm-hmm.
You started your career as a police officer with LA County.
Yep, LA County. Yeah.
Is that sheriffs or police?
Sheriff?
Okay, so LA
there,
County.
there is a difference.
There is a difference. So you started your first career was with LA County sheriffs.
Yep.
That
Yep.
ended up ending in a way that got you sober, and I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thanks for coming on. You live in the Pacific Northwest.
I do.
North of Seattle, what, about an hour?
Yep, about an hour. A little island called Camino Island.
What's that like?
That's a slice of heaven. It's connected by a bridge, so it's the island feel without the inconvenience, is how I like to put it. So
Nice.
it's a beautiful spot. There's all kinds of wildlife and, bald eagles every day that I get to see, and deer, and
Love it.
no antelope. Can't see the antelope play, but
Yeah.
I see the deer hanging out,
Everything else.
eating all my plants.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
And so you grew up in Southern California.
I did. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, so
Okay.
I was here up in Canoga Park. It was called Canoga Park back in the day. Now it's West Hills, but lived there till I got married. At 19, I got married, and kind of stayed in the general area until I became a sheriff's deputy, and then I moved up in the desert, the high desert, to buy my first house.
So I'm always interested, because it's always so different for us that struggle with addiction and alcoholism. What was your childhood like?
It was, I think, a pretty normal childhood from the outside, and I think probably pretty normal from the inside. So mom and dad, who, very child-centered. I've got a brother younger and a sister older, so I'm the middle child. And we played sports, Pop Warner football from the age of 9 all the way till I got into high school, and then did the high school sports. Sister cheerleader, brother followed in my footsteps. But my parents, they didn't get along. I think my dad was struggled with infidelity, and my mom was a loyalist, but had her own issues, only child, so I think she expected more than probably my dad was willing to give, although my dad was a single child too until his mom remarried and had 2 stepsisters along the way. But I remember, that they would yell at each other, call each other, more my mom, hot Italian, just remember her calling my dad a bastard and, you asshole, and I have no idea. He probably deserved it. But, as a little kid, I remember I was 8 and they decided to separate, and I'll never forget it. I remember them, we're sitting around their bed and they're telling us that this is going to happen, and, it was crushing. But my first response was to go run into my bedroom, grab my piggy bank, and give it to my dad and say, "Dad, you'll probably need this, like some extra money." I don't know why, but that's what I did.
Yeah.
And so consequently, my siblings were really close because I think we had to hunker down during those tough times. But they ultimately stayed together for 28 years and then separated.
Okay.
Had all that
After
time
you guys
together.
left.
After
Yeah.
we all left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my dad remarried, and great gal, and my dad has passed, but we're still close with his wife, and my mom. She didn't get remarried, but she got into another relationship, and they moved on. Dad better than mom. Mom finally got it and let go of the resentment, and then started to have fun.
Good.
Yeah.
So were alcohol and drugs part of your younger years at all?
Well, my younger years, yeah. I mean, I started like so many of us in my teens. I had never thought about drinking, using, smoking. I was an athlete from an early age, and wanted to be a professional athlete. That was my thing, and I was pretty gifted at an early age, and everybody thought I'd be a professional athlete. Of course, nobody knew, including myself, that I'd stopped growing at age 13 and never get any bigger. But up until then, I was definitely one of the bigger young kids, and I remember my Pop Warner football team, so you had people from different communities. We all didn't go to the same school, different schools, right? And I got invited over to a buddy's house on the team, and he and his friend had already been pot smokers and drinkers. I had never done that before, and got introduced to it, and tried the alcohol and the weed for the first time, more because I wanted to fit in than anything else. And it was an amazing experience at that time. It's like, wow, this is
fun.
Whew, but I got in trouble day one. I was not supposed to need a ride home. Had to call my dad late. He picked me up, and he was pissed off. And it's like from day one there was trouble from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it so much I wanted to do it again, and then again, and again, and again. And before I knew it, I was off to the races. It was my sole focus beyond school and sports. It was like when you wanted to get high, I was on the hunt from early on.
Right. So carried that through high school, but still kept it together in
Totally.
high school.
I mean, I was an average student. I mean, be average all the way without having to put too much effort into it, and always excelled in sports. One of the top athletes, really, all the way through. Played varsity football from 11th and 12th. Still played the Bees, and we had a great team, great coach. I mean, It was an amazing experience in baseball, and I would have played basketball too, but I had to get a surgery on my arm from a football injury, and so I didn't do basketball intense. So I just said, no, I'm just gonna do football and baseball.
Yeah.
But I partied every single day. I mean, every single day. It was get high, stay high, still maintain grades. Nobody knew. Of course, the adults in our life didn't know what we were doing until about senior year. Most everybody knew that we were the potheads and the drinkers, the partiers.
Yeah.
But not low lifes by any stretch. We were.
So no major trouble yet.
No.
Senior year of high school.
No, not. I mean, we got stopped plenty of times and could have gotten in trouble. Just by the grace of God, we didn't get, stopped or get in a DWI or any of those things. I mean, back then it was, throw your beer cans in the back of your truck or in the car. It was like no big deal.
Different
times completely.
Yeah.
And it was. But there were still problems associated with it, but it was in relationships, like girlfriends. And ultimately my first wife, we got married. We were high school sweethearts from junior high school. We got married, and it was always an issue with her, even though she was an alcoholic for sure. But for some reason, the drug part of life was not.
She wasn't having it.
It wasn't her jam. Yeah.
So you get out of high school. And did you go straight to the police department?
No.
Or did you go to college?
No, I went to college for a few semesters. I didn't have any reason to go. I didn't know what my direction. Ultimately, what I did is I started a swimming pool cleaning business. So I was cleaning, I built my route, built it up. I was cleaning 100 pools a week. I was, doing really well financially, working hard, working, 12 hours a day. But because I was left to my own, as long as I got my pools done, I was good. So I'd be high all day long. And now I had enough money where it was, Coke and this and that and alcohol. I mean, I was probably, back in the late 70s, I was probably throwing away, $1,000 easily every few weeks on drugs, alcohol. Now that would probably be closer to 4,000 or 5,000.
Right.
So, but I knew that what I was doing was not healthy. I'm not a real fan of right, wrong, but for lack of words, I knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
My conscience still was alive and well, and I had 2 kids real early on. So by the time I was 21, I had 2 kids already.
So you got married at 19. You guys had kids right away.
Right away, yeah.
Same age as you?
Same age as, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, same grade and everything, almost a year younger, but nevertheless, same age.
Okay.
And it was weird. I've always been a hustler. I've always wanted to be successful and care for, my responsibilities. And I remember early on, I'm doing pools. I knew I didn't want to do it together. I just didn't. Got kind of bored with it. And I mean, I put spas in. I didn't put pools in, but I was, really parlaying that, in a person's backyard. What do they need? And so, I did good that way. But I didn't. I wanted to find a career that had insurance because I had to pay for my own insurance. And I'm self-employed. Benefits. I wasn't a saver at that time, and I wanted my kids to be able to look at me with respect, and I knew that if I kept doing what I was doing and as they got older, they'd know that Dad was a heavy drinker, partier, that kind of a thing, and I because of my conscience, I didn't want them to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
For sure. And so I was searching for what I could find. Without an education, you're limited. I remember coming home one night and after partying, totally faded, and turned the TV on, which was normal practice, and this commercial came on to become an LA County Sheriff's deputy.
Oh.
And I went, never thought of that. And of course, if you knew me, you'd go, well, Scott, you're a total partier, you're a pothead. How could you? That doesn't equate.
Right.
It's like, how would you ever get hired? And I thought, I won't tell the truth.
Right.
I mean, hair was nice and short and clean cut, all American kind of look. And I went down I filled out an application, and then I knew I'd have a physical agility would be the next test if I, passed the written, which I did. And I was always in shape. And I mean, back in the day, I was one of those, I could do 50 pull-ups, no problem. And you only had to do like 15 or whatever. So I was fast. I ran a 4.40 in high school, and I was a distance runner because I loved to run and whatnot. So the physical agility, I know I would excel in it. And I did. Better than I think probably anybody there.
Sure.
Then came the oral interview. And so I knew that I would be sitting in front of, 4, 5, 6, whatever, seasoned, deputies. And I knew they wouldn't expect you to know policy procedure, but they're just going to ask you common sense questions. What would you do if, that kind of scenario. So I'm driving down to LA from the San Fernando Valley in my pinstripe suit and, my Brute cologne and all my pool equipment in the back, and nervous as all get out. I was so stinking nervous. And of course, my coping mechanism was to smoke some weed, drink, and I wasn't going to drink, right? But I'm going to smoke a little bowl before I go in there and just calm my nerves. So I'm smoking weed before I go for an oral interview.
In front of 5 cops.
In front of 5, yep. And always kind of living on the edge, I guess. I don't know where that came from with me, but I've always been kind of that way.
Yeah.
And like my wife will say, that the posted speed limit is just a suggestion for me. It's not the law.
I get that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I totally aced it. I nailed it. I've got the gift of, gab, and it's always been easy for me to kind of, befriend people. So I wasn't nervous about that. And so I came out, totally aced it. And so it was an 11-month process. And I got asked if I wanted to become an LA County Sheriff's Deputy 11 months later. And it was like, shit, oh dear, this is really happening. Because I never was one of those little kids, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a policeman, I wanted to be a football player.
Yeah.
And so never was big on, guns or, shooting. The first time I shot a gun was at the Sheriff's Academy. And so that was all kind of foreign to me, but
did you go to the academy during that 11 months? Or
no.
It was an 11-month process to go. Do you want to go to the academy?
Here's what's interesting. Back then, they had a shortage of jail deputies. And I knew that when you get hired after the academy, you went to the jail and you worked as a jail deputy, sometimes for a long period of time, like 5 years or longer. It's hard to get it on the streets. And that was like fine by me because it's like, I didn't really know what I was getting into. And prior to the academy, they literally said, we need you in the jail. You're already hired without any training. They'll have somebody that, basically like you just sit in the cage and, watch these inmates. And it was such a surreal experience to go down.
So you were working in the jails during that time?
Yeah, I was down in East LA. And of course, every inmate knew that you had this young 20, I was like 23 or something, in there, and I remember thinking, what did I get myself into? This is like bizarre land, and I took a 50% cut in pay to do it, but I'm thinking long term, I've got my health insurance and blah blah blah, and like anything, you assimilate quick. I did. I got into it, and I kind of got the feel of things, and really was not that big a deal after a couple of weeks. Although it was like working midnight shift, of course, no one wants to work the 11 at night till 7 in the morning. So right away, I'm just thrown into this whole new different kind of lifestyle. My wife at the time was supportive. Her dad was a fireman, so she kind of had that civil service mentality she grew up in. And then I went to the academy, which is a 4.5 month long. It's boot camp. It is just like boot camp. You're just getting to go home every night.
Yeah,
it was a grind.
And my son just went through it for the fire department. It was
so
like
you
boot
get
camp.
It. Yeah, it really is. Where you've got drill instructors. But the cool thing is that you're a coach. You get it. And I knew that if I had my coach in my nose, screaming at me, it was only because he liked me. He really cared about me. He doesn't care about the ones that he doesn't say anything to. So when a drill instructor's in my face screaming at me, it's like, sir, yes, sir. It's like, no offense whatsoever. I got this. And I had made a decision to not party anymore. And
so did you quit?
Yeah. Well, I want to make a point. Back in the day, partying to me means smoking weed, doing coke. That has nothing to do with drinking.
Right.
Right. And so I stopped all the partying, the pot, the coke, the shrooms, everything illicit. And of course, I couldn't drink during the week at all, but I still had a cocktail or two, at night. And it was a grind. I mean, I kid you not, I would come home for just a couple of hours and have to turn around and come back because it was from the San Fernando Valley down to East LA, back and forth. I was gone all the time, 2 little kids. And I was really proud of myself for not, using it at all. I think like I was done. And that was a shocker for me too. And what was more of a shock is that my short-term memory was actually okay, because I had to learn a lot of all the codes and the training. It was very, very intense, and I kind of surprised myself. It's like, okay, my brain still works. Cool. I thought I'd fried it all, and it would be tough. And so, in fact, it's so funny. You have to get your hair cut high and tight, just like you're in the military. And I had no money. I mean, no money, barely making it, and I needed to get a haircut. So my sister-in-law cut my hair one night before I went back to work the next day. We're in formation, and this drill instructor just got on my face, and it's like, Graham, who cut your hair? It's like, sir, my sister-in-law, sir. It's like, does she like you? Sir, I think so, sir. And it's like, get out, go get your hair cut. It's like, sir, I don't have any money. And it's like, who can loan Graham, whatever, a few bucks? And if they were pulling money out, they gave me some money. I went to go get a haircut. And so I come back, and they're in the classroom setting, and so I walk into the classroom, and this is a academy class of 176 guys, so pretty good size. And before every instructor would do whatever they're going to talk on, they'd always make me tell a joke or do something. And I remember I walk into the room, and the instructor is like, "Who's got a joke?" And I just walked in and said, "I got a joke." And it's like, so I come up, my hair all high and tight, and I was like, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to get up there. And I told, are we allowed to cuss on this? Is that okay?
You can cuss, yeah.
So I told the duck fucker joke.
Yeah.
And so I get up there and I say, there's this guy, and he's got this parrot, and every time he leaves the house, he flies the coop and goes next door because the guy next door has a duck. And he goes and he fucks that duck. And the guy with the duck gets pissed off and says, listen, every time you leave, your parrot flies the coop and does that, right? And so can you do something? So I'm so sorry, I'll take care of it. So he talks to his parrot and he said, listen, you can't do that anymore. Parrot says, I won't, I'm sorry. And of course he does it again, kind of like addiction, right? And so finally, the guy with the duck gets, angry again. So anyway, he's talking to this parrot and he says, listen, I'm having a party tonight and I'm going to test you. If you go over and you fuck that duck, I'm going to pluck every single feather off the top of your head and make you bald as an eagle. And boy, the parrot is just like petrified. I won't do it, I promise. And so the guy leaves and he's on his perch just rocking and rolling. Oh, he just can't handle it. He goes over and he fucks the duck. So true to form, the guy pulls every single feather off that head, and come party time, he's up on the piano and he's directing traffic. Men to the right, women to the left, men to the right, women to the left. And all of a sudden, 2 gorgeous women come walking in, but they're escorted by 2 very bald men. So it's men to the right, women to the left. You 2 duck fuckers on the piano with me and help me direct traffic. And so everybody's busted up, and from that point on, this whole class, they elect me as the guidon. So in the service, you're the guidon, you're carrying the flag, which is an honor. Yeah. Of course, I'm going, great, an honor, but have you ever tried to run 5 miles with this huge pole and a big, huge flag? It's hard. Flag, it's hard to do. Yeah. And so, but again, leadership, and people looked at me as a leader, and so the drill instructors treated me with respect. It was just like I aced my way through it. And so then I got assigned after the academy to Wayside Honor Ranch up in Santa Clarita. They've got a maximum security, minimum security. I was in the maximum security. And and I had bought a home out in Palmdale. Back then, I mean, it was like, I didn't need a ton of money, like about $6,000 to get into a $125,000 home, but it was a home. At 25, I bought my first home. But it was a long commute. Not from my house to Wayside Honor Ranch, but I was there for 11 months, and then all of a sudden I got assigned out to West Hollywood. But I had started to use again. So I moved into a block of all things. My next door neighbor's a mechanic, total pot dealer. A couple houses down, electrician, works for the studios, cokehead. Another guy who's a grip at the studios. So everybody's got a bunch of little kids. And so, you get used to something. I got eased in, and before I know it, I'm using on the weekends, my days off, no big deal. What I do on my time's my business, county time, their business. But then I started to smoke a little, have a little Coke or something on the way to work as I'm driving.
So West Hollywood, was that a at the jail, or you were out on the street then?
No, I was on the street then. So this is, I'm referring though to when I was at Wayside on a ranch.
Okay.
But now, so now I get assigned to West Hollywood. So it's like, oh, okay, now I can't do anything again because I'm back training, and so I've got a training officer for 6 months is how long you're in training. And I had a guy that was an amazing police officer, kind of an asshole, but he knew his stuff. Officer survival. I mean, he taught me well. And this guy went and poop snooped, man. He was trying to find people to arrest, and he was doing police work. He wasn't, just a slug, just biding his time, taking a burglary report and drinking coffee or whatever. This guy he was working. He's in good shape, young guy. I think he's probably in his early 30s, and I'm in my early 20s, basically. So respectful and high and tight, just dressed to the nines. I mean, everything he was tough. But we got noticed. We had some good busts and whatnot. And then when I went out on my own, so no drinking, not doing anything. I'm back, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But then when I got on my own, it's kind of nerve-wracking to be on your own. You're driving a one-man car, and you got to do everything. And West Hollywood was the highest crime-rated area per capita in all of LA County. So it's a fast station. You got all kinds of different variety of crimes because you've got predominantly a gay community, which is, no offense, but somewhat of a vulnerable community to, perps. And you have a very high density of elderly ethnic people. It's another vulnerable community. And so you've got Beverly Hills on one side, you've got West LA on the other side, North Hollywood on the other, and easy access on all points entering. So easy in, easy out. That's why when I bought a house on an island, I bought it there because there's only one way in and the same way out. Criminals want another way out that they came in on, and so consequently low crime. And so I learned a lot, and I got noticed. I was taking people to jail. I got into scuffles where I'd chase someone down. I mean, like you see on TV kind of stuff where they'd, pull them down and beat the crap out of them until the cavalry came. And, I remember one time it was like the end of the shift. And so people on day shift, they have a lot of old timers there, and I'm a young guy. And so there was a call of a disturbance at a restaurant. And so I pull up, and I'm by myself, and the guy comes out. The owner says, "You're going to need some backup. This guy's crazy out there." And it's like, I point to my baton, and I point to my gun. I said, "That's my backup." And I walk in, and there's this guy screaming, saying, "I'm a Vietnam vet. I don't get any fucking respect." And he's just being people are like freaked out. And I walk up to him, and I said, "Hey, excuse me, sir." I said, let's take this outside, And he goes, "Fuck you, I'm a Vietnam vet." And, he's intoxicated. And then he pushes me, and it's like, okay, fuck you. And I take my baton out, and I whipped it, and his hands were like on a rail, and I severed his finger off. And then he jumps at me, and he grabs my shirt where my badge is, rips my badge off, and we go flying back, take a table out, just like in the movies, and we're crashed down. He's on top of me, and I hear the sirens coming, so backup is coming. And then a bunch of deputies came in, and they pulled him off of me, and everything worked out fine. And so stuff like that. So the brass, they're noticing, like, who is this guy, And so I got asked to become of a special projects unit. SPU was the acronym that did vice narcotics locally within the West Hollywood area. Small unit, just brand new. I got asked to be on it, and it was great because you could weren't answering calls. You go out and do special projects, reduce crime here, meet the community, build cases for the major narcotic unit, and we went on raids with them, and it was really a lot of fun. And we were kind of an elite little group.
And are you still because you quit when you went to West Hollywood? Are you still quit?
No, I'm kind of feeling I got the vibe of how to do things, but again, not partying during work or anything, but once you get in with the crowd, you're drinking hard after work. So I'm driving all the way home to West Hollywood, or I'm sleeping at the station, because if you arrest a lot of people, you're in court every single day. So luckily they've got the bunks in the station, and they got a little gym, and you can really survive there if you needed to. So I wasn't home a lot. So marriage is starting to suffer a little bit pretty quickly, but I'm having a ball. I'm taking more people to jail than anybody. I remember one time my partner and I, we started at Fairfax, which is at the end of West Hollywood, Doheny, about 2-mile block of space. It's like, how many felonies can we arrest before we get to the station? I had 7 guys in my car, I kid you not, sitting up on each other. We had brought 7 different felonies in. I mean, the brass was like, who are you guys? You just, so we had fun. And again, so we got noticed. So what began is a lot of fun and, kind of a golden boy. I mean, I got noticed a lot in that, like a captain at another station wanted me to watch his house while he went on vacation. So it was that kind of, acknowledgement, I guess, trusted. But everything changed when we were raiding a, like, I don't know what you got here in Orange County, like a motel that it's almost like a strip mall look. So there's, they got all the rooms that are outside, access in. And we were going to go break down a door, and there was some drug dealer in there, and there was multiple rooms. And so after we got in, and we got everybody, handcuffed, and we're all looking through all the different hotel rooms. I'm by myself. And I opened up this drawer, and there was a baseball-size ball of cocaine, and there was nobody around. And I'm paying for everything I put in my body at this point, and I'm thinking, and it's just that split second, all of a sudden, I just put it in my jacket pocket.
Made that decision
right there. And from there, it turned into, making traffic stops and looking for, coke. I mean, my little scheme was, there was a head shop right on Fairfax, and it was really not in our area, but it was on street level, and there was a parking lot like 200 feet above it, behind it. And people came into it from behind, not at the storefront. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to wait for Mercedes, Beamers, nice cars and men only. Because I remember my day when I scored something and I didn't have the paraphernalia to use it, I'd go to the head shop and get what I needed and go use it. So that was my thinking. And so guy comes out within 15 minutes, pulls out. I wrap around real quick in my unmarked car, put my little red light on the top, and you just know the guy's going, oh no. And he has no idea why I'm pulling him over. And so I pull him out, and I'd say, if it was you, I'd say, Mr. Cox, I apologize for having to pull you over, but we had a burglary in the area, and your car matches the description, so I'm just going to do a quick check, and I'll get you on your way, all right? And you're like, cool, no problem. So I'm befriending you very quickly. And then I just say, before I go check your car out, I have to ask, I hope it doesn't offend you, but you don't have any, drugs, any paraphernalia, nothing in there in the car, right? And you're like, no, nothing in there. So, okay, just had to check. So I go check it out. Of course, I find it, and I come back, and I say, Mr. Cox, I thought you said you didn't have anything in your car. And you're like, I said, Mr. Cox, you lied to me. What am I going to do now? And you're like, let me go? It's like, it's a felony. I said, let me back up for a second. Let me ask you this. I said, what is it worth you not to go to jail tonight? And you're like, anything. I said, anything? He said, anything. I said, well, how much money do you have on you? And you're like, what? And I said, Mr. Cox, I did not stutter. Answer my question. It's like $500. It's like, all right, let's do this deal, and I'll send you on your way. And if you said I got a couple $100, I said, Mr. Cox, I'm trying to save you about $10,000 in court fees. Your wife's going to be pissed off at you, and it's a big deal. I mean, let's get real with this. I'd take people to the ATM. I'd go to their home. They'd pull money out, and it wasn't like I was trying to build this big cash pile. I just wanted enough money so I can go get a limo ride with all the pretty girls and go hang out and parties. All I was doing. Not a lot of foresight and planning on my part, but that was my gig for a whole entire year.
How many of those would you do a month, like you think?
Oh my gosh, it would be more like about 2 or 3 a night.
2 or 3 a night.
And I'd still take more people to jail than anybody. So no one's
And you're
noticing.
still taking people to jail.
Letting half of them go.
But you had those 2 or 3 a night where you were getting $1,000, $1,500 total.
And all the drugs I wanted.
And some drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's out of a movie.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's as the rest of the story unfolds, I'll get to that part too. But it was out of a movie. I mean, it was Sunset Strip and all the different establishments, and I was kind of a regular at the Body Shop, which is a strip club that a lot of it wasn't the skanky one, if there's such a thing. There was where men would bring their wives or their girlfriends or whatever, and that kind of a deal. But I was definitely living a fantasy life. Now, my wife leaves me. I was golfing one day. She says, "I need you to come home." And I was like, "No, this is a country club. I'll see you after 18," and come home to a note. And she's gone. She's done. Little did I know that she was cheating on me, and that she just needed some kind of angle to be gone. But it was devastating. It was like, childhood sweetheart, 2 kids who I adored. When I was home, I was definitely dad and child-centered. You go out and go have fun. I know you've been here. I was trusting totally, and so it was really tough on me emotionally. And I didn't have the coping skills that one would have at my age because I had suppressed them with all my drug use and whatnot. So I used more and more, drank more and more. And I remember my sergeant saying, "Scott, you take some time off. I know you're going through a hard time." And my performance review was personal life is blending into work life, kind of a thing. Like, watch out for that. And I said, "No, I got it. I'm good. I mean, I appreciate it, but I got this thing. I should have taken some time off." But ego sets in real big when you become a cop or a fireman. You got to watch that pretty closely. So it just got worse and worse. I had a partner I brought into it, a young guy, like 3 days younger than I was, 2 young kids
So
too.
did anybody else that you knew of did this kind of stuff, or it was just kind of like...
No. There was a couple of deputies who I kind of sensed that they did, and maybe we smoked a bowl together. Didn't do any coke with any of them. We all drank a lot, but I'm sure that it was out there, but it was not advertised, and it was a very small percentage. A lot of the public thinks, "Oh, there's a lot of dirty cops." No, there's not. There's a small percentage, and I just happened to be that one. And they get calls. The station gets calls. Whoever's working the desk at the station gets calls from the public. "Hey, you got dirty cops out there." And my rule of thumb was I never did this with females because I think that you'd get offended. Never did it if I could tell if you were gay, because I thought you'd probably think and feel more like a female than a guy. And I never did it with drunk people because they would wake up and feel like they got rolled. So it was only the men who I knew they had a lot to lose, and that system worked well until it didn't, because I got complacent and greedy, and they get calls though at the station, and then they just okay, they take the information or whatever. They never said anything to us at all.
Right.
And I had busted a guy, young kid, and he had to go to jail. He was just a little punk, and he had 5 ounces of coke, 5.5 ounces of coke. He was like a little runner, I think. And I took him to jail, but I only booked in an ounce and kept 4.5. And that was a nice score back in the day. And I want to make it clear too, it sounds like I'm glorifying it and I'm just telling the story because I'm such a different person now than I was then. But back then, that was my mindset. And we would go to court finally about 6 months later, so it was a long time after. And my partner and I testify, and our testimony was not super cooperating. And the kid told his attorney, it's like, "I had 5.5 ounces, not 1. And so the attorney tells the judge, and the judge, because of our testimony, thought, maybe something to this. I'm going to pass this on to internal affairs. And so quickly they started an investigation. Of course, we didn't know about it at first, but I sensed something. And when I realized we're getting followed during our shift, I was humbly I say, I think I was a pretty good cop. I mean, I was really aware.
Yeah. So you brought your partner on. How did that conversation? Let me back you up. How did that conversation
Well,
go?
it was what happened was we stopped a guy, and he had some meth on him, and I set up a bust right there on the streets, which you're not supposed to do, of course. But my mindset is like, how can I get a bigger fish? And I said, I'm just going to write in the report. And you call your dealer, set up a buy. And when I swoop in, you go run, and I'm just going to put unidentified suspect, ran, don't know who he is. And so I get the dealer. And so we do our little, spill. He takes us back to his house, and he's got a shitload of high-grade methamphetamine, tons of cash, weed, and it's a little drug den kind of a thing. And so instead of taking him to jail, I just set up a thing where I'm going to watch out for if anything comes your way. I'm going to let you know, and you just feed me what I want when I want it. He said, okay. And at that point, my partner, I just like, I'm going to risk bringing him in. And it was a risk. But he saw the potential of cash. He was a young guy. He needed money more than what he was getting paid, and he bought into it. And I feel, to this day, I feel really, really guilty about and remorseful about bringing him in, because he was a great guy, clean cut, wonderful family, and I sucked him in. I sucked him in, and hopefully all the good work I do now is going to cover that multitude of sins on that one. But nevertheless, we were partners in crime, and and we were quite the duo. You know, he was a Creole guy, a good-looking guy. It was like this Crockett and Tubbs kind of look thing going on, and we were playing the fantasy big time.
Yeah.
So when we knew we were getting surveilled, they split us up, and then they put us back together again to see if we get back into our activity. And I was involved in a couple, shootings where, suspect was killed and with another partner, and still doing a lot of, really good police work. And so when we knew we were getting surveilled, we didn't do anything. But then they felt like we feel like we've got enough corroborating information from some different people that came forward. We're going to do a bust on us. And it was it's so surreal to think that the night before I sensed something was up. All my I was living back at my mom's house in the valley. I was renting my house out up in the Antelope Valley. And so I'm living in like my own old bedroom kind of a thing. My brother still lives at home. I took all my paraphernalia out, put it in my brother's room. Nice big brother, right? I had a little bit of meth. I remember putting it in one of my shirts in my closet, in my pocket. And so I figured they're not going to find that. The night that I get busted, I don't know I'm going to get busted, I take my weed and I shove it down the middle of my golf bag where all the sticks are at. So I'm not going to stick their hand, take every club out. Probably not going to happen down there. And it was payday. I remember getting paid that day. And back in the old day where you had a check, you had a little perforation and then all your deductions, so like a long check. And I remember walking out of the sergeant's office and looking at my check and then looking at my deductions and then taking a few steps out, and I looked at it's like all the ink on the deduction side, it's like it vanished. It was like, oh, this is weird. Let me see your check, and it's like a blank piece of paper. And looking back at it from a spiritual standpoint, it's like, oh, God's telling me that this is over, done. So we go eat that night and come out, and there's this lady that walks up carrying a briefcase, and the minute she starts talking, we know that she's mentally ill. Back then we called him a ding, like a ding dong, a ding. And so she's saying, there was a guy a Mexican guy talking on the telephone back when they had telephone booths, and he jumped in his Mercedes and sped off, and he left his briefcase on top of the telephone booth. So like found property, will you take it? It's like, no, just the station's a mile away. Just go there. They'll take a report. She persisted. Need you to take it. So we took her information. It was bogus information. We knew it right away. We sent her on her way. Get in our car, open it up. There's $500 cash, a Colombian passport, family photos, and 3 ounces of hermetically sealed cocaine in this briefcase. It's like, man, I know we sometimes look stupid, but we're not that stupid. Right. And so we go to the station and tell the major narcotic unit, hey, this what happened. Do you want to take the coke and book? And they go, no, you guys take the coke. The major narcotic unit, they were the ones surveilling us, unbeknownst to us. And so here we are sitting in our car. So we no longer were doing all of our report writing in the briefing room. We totally isolated. We're doing it in our car. Nobody bothered us because we were taking so many people to jail. So I knew I'm getting set up. I knew it. And I've already folded a paper bindle thinking, how can I cut the very smallest corner out of this hermetically sealed?
You're getting set up, but you still want some of that stuff.
I do.
Yep.
And right before I cut it, I get an announcement, come to the sergeant's office. So I leave my partner there. I go check it out. And so I walk into the station. It's the back door, not the front door, where we go in, where all the cars are parked and whatnot. The minute I walk in, I get swooped on by about 7 of my coworkers, deputies, the patrol guys, and, hand behind the back, rip my gun out of my holster, you're under arrest. And I'm just like, I know what's going on, but I'm playing as stupid as I can, I guess. And then they escort me to the captain's office, and he's just like got such disgust and disdain on his look. It's like, you were like the golden boy. How could you, kind of a thing. I mean, just like, oh my God, it was the worst feeling. But it was also a feeling of relief too, beyond the embarrassment. And so, they took me up to my locker, checked that, nothing there, drove me back to my mom's house. They had warrants. They already went out to the desert and checked that house out. They found nothing. Yeah. Nothing at all. And so I went to county that night, and my partner, too, as well. And the first night in protective custody there, I mean, I had a bunch of people from my academy that walked in and just like, you MFer, how could you, kind of a thing. Drill instructors that totally loved me, just disgusted with me, and I'm disgusted with myself. And spent a night in jail and got out. And first thing I did was go to my golf bag and roll a joint and smoke it. Yeah. And from there, all my girlfriends were strippers at the time. And the next day they like, what are you going to do? And it's like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. It's like, well, why don't you come to work for us? I said, like, what, like a bouncer? And it's like, no, dance with us. You still have your uniform, right? It's like, yeah, I still got my uniform. It's like, you can dance. I mean, because they, had intimacies with them, so they knew my hips worked pretty good. And so, yeah, come dance. And it's like, well, that sounds interesting. It's kind of scary, but all right, I can do that. And we'll get you the gigs. You just show up, do 3 dances.
But you have a case, right? And what was there against you?
I had 7 different felony charges against me.
So did they have stuff besides them trying to set you up with the?
It was all
bogus
circumstantial. It was just someone's word against another. They had no physical evidence whatsoever. So I got I got my retirement money, which I had to split with the ex, and I put it all towards an attorney. And back in the day, back then, it was like, I think I gave him $10,000. So it was everything I had. And he was one of the best attorneys in LA for first responders. And he was pretty confident that we could beat this thing because it was all circumstantial. I remember going up for a lineup, so these people would come and see if they could identify me, could not identify me. And I've got, for some reason, the look where if I, probably you too in a little bit, like you grow your hair long, you look different. You have a beard, you look different. And so they could not recognize me. They did ID my partner, but not me. And so so I'm out there having fun, wondering, still nervous what's going to happen. There's this big unknown heavy cloud hanging over me, trying to believe that I'm going to get just, probation or, nothing's going to happen from it. And so this is in October of '85, and come May of '86 is when I met my wife now of 40 years, Jenny, and I was at an outside canteen. I danced the night before. I'm still doing blow and drinking, but I'm at the tail end. I feel like I'm at the tail end of it because there's not the draw. I'm kind of tired really of it all. I'm 27 at the time, and so I see Jenny walk into this big, crowded outside cantina place. A table right next to us opens up, and I'm pretty bold when it comes to introducing myself. And I just walked up to her and I said, "I know this kind of sounds like a line, but I'd love to meet you." And she looked at her girlfriend who she was with, and I said, "Just 5 minutes." And she looked at her watch and she said, "All right, go." So I sat down, and for the next 2.5 hours, I just poured myself into her and told her not everything. But 2 little kids, newly divorced, lost my job.
How old were your kids when all this went down?
6 and 4.
Okay, so
6
they
and
were
4.
young.
They were young, and my ex was not letting me see the kids. There wasn't that supervised thing. I mean, she was really keeping them from me. She hooked up with someone that she went out on me on, so she's already thinking about getting remarried. I forget now if she was, but it was still a really, really painful part of my life that I was not dealing with. But Jenny, when I met her, we got married 20 days later. She took the risk, I didn't, for sure, and it was infatuation. But nevertheless, I just felt like she was going to be the one for me. I needed somebody. I wasn't suicidal, but it's like I could care less, really. I was at that point where it just doesn't matter anymore, and I'm still young. I'm 27. I got a whole lifetime ahead of me, but that's where I was at. And so she gave me the reason to try again. And thank God that she came into my life. That's why we're such big family advocates, because we do believe that family is powerful. So long story short, finally, we're the whole case went for a whole year before it finally came to, kind of an end. But I had this sense in me that I'm to plead guilty. And it was kind of a scary thing to do. It's like, I was facing 6 years at high end, 2 years low end, and Jenny had the same sense, and we came together not knowing that we both had the same, sense. And so we had confirmation, and my attorney was so angry. He was livid.
He was pissed because he thought he could beat it.
Totally, and he could have. But I knew for some reason, and I wasn't really that healthy at that time, but for some reason I knew if I wanted to get healthy, I needed to come clean. Now, I didn't come as clean like I told everything, because it'd be a whole lot more than 6 years I'd be facing. Sure. But I came clean enough to say, yeah, what you got on me, I did it. I did it. And my partner did not want to plead. He went ahead and fought it. He had an attorney that cost a lot of money too. And so anyway, come time for sentencing, the judge said, he saw that I turned my life around. So Jenny was 6 months pregnant. I just moved into an apartment the day before. I'm thinking I'm going to get probation. My probation report was probation. But the judge said, and he went to 2 other judges, which he said he had never done before. he just was torn what to do. Bottom line is, he says, we can't show the community that this is okay. So you're going to have to pay a penalty. So he sentenced me to 2 years. And they took me right then and there. They didn't let me, clean up my affairs.
Now, did your partner beat it?
Nope, he got convicted 4 years. He could have done the same as me and gotten 2.
Yeah.
But, that's hindsight, and he did what he thought he was supposed to do. But my first night in jail, and this first night I'd ever been in jail, it was like I had my first and only panic attack. I'm sitting in like a little holding place before they process me, and it was just like, oh my God, this is like, this is big.
This isn't the night in jail. This is when you're sentenced.
This is when I'm sentenced, yeah. So yeah, I got the night in jail, which was surreal
So
too.
you go from the courtroom thinking you're going to get probation to all of a sudden, right then it starts.
Yep, right then it starts.
There's no time to get your stuff in order. It's just boom.
Nothing. And thank God that my mom and dad were there. My like a friend / pastor was there. She had support around her, and Jenny had a great career in financial services at the time, so she had great support there. But she didn't tell anybody. For 9 months that we were married, no one really knew what was what. They just thought we were, got married quick, and that was what was going on. And so. My first night in jail, I didn't know that this happened because I was in my own world, but that was the same week that they caught Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. And so he's up in protective custody, and they put me right next to him, and not in the same
you're
cell.
a police officer, so you have to be in protective custody.
Right. And so I'm in a cell for 23 hours a day, just living this nightmare that just began, wondering if I'm ever going to see the light of day. It was very, very surreal and all brand new territory for me. Literally just praying my way through it. I'm thinking of Jenny. I'm thinking of, my 2 kids, my family. I just, put a black stain on everything. I humiliated our family by what I did. And really knowing now I was just an addict trying to survive.
Sure.
And so I had no idea about addiction at that time, no idea about recovery, clueless about it all. That wasn't part of my world back then. So I ended up doing a couple of weeks at county. Then I went to Chino for another 2.5 months, all in protective custody. And Chino was like a nightmare. It's like 3 tiers, huge population of all these guys in protective custody. Most of them are gang dropouts, and nobody knows anybody. And my big fear was, so I'm going to recognize somebody, because I put a lot of people in jail.
Right.
And I remember, and then when I worked at the jail, I finally got a position where I was what you call a kitchen deputy. So I worked in the kitchen, these inmates with knives and whatnot, and that was a unique experience. But nevertheless, I'd met a lot of inmates. And I remember I was in protective custody, and they're the trustees, inmates as well, but they're like maybe giving library books out or serving food or whatever. And this guy, it's like, oh man, I know that guy. I recognize that guy. He's got Venice tattooed on his back, and big guy. And he keeps, as he walks by, he looks, and he's like doing double takes all the time. It's like, this dude's gonna know me. And if word gets out, then I'm screwed. And so
nobody knows you're a cop.
Nobody
knows anything about each other there.
Nope, nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
The guards, some of the guards do, but not all of them do. It's a sealed jacket, they call it. And he finally stops this inmate and goes, "Man, I know you. And I said, I recognize you too. I said, are you from Venice? It's like, yeah, man. It's like, you got Venice on your back to take it. He said, yeah. I said, I used to sling dope down there all the time. It's like, oh man, that's where I know you from. It's like, yeah, dude, how you doing? And played it off that way. So I'm good. And my son was born when I'm in Chino. He came early. And so the first time I see him is through glass. And that was really, really hard. I ended up getting transferred up to San Luis Obispo, California Men's Colony, and I think I did about 9 months up there before I got work release in Santa Barbara. And there's a whole story behind all that where you can't go back, you can't get work release. You're supposed to get work release back where you got arrested. Well, they wouldn't let me go back there because I knew everybody there. So we fought to get it moved to Ventura County, and my dad lived in Ventura County, and that was our angle to get it done there. So, it was the worst year of my life, and yet the best year of my life, because it really forced me to stop and figure out to the best of my ability, which wasn't really that great, but how the heck did I get here, and more importantly, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Where do I want this to go? And so when I get out, I have no idea what I'm going to do. None. And I've got all these adult responsibilities, 3 kids now and a wife, and she's moved into her mom and dad's house, and they were very gracious, let us, start there. But I'm going to financial services, I guess. And so I get an insurance license that gets revoked because I can't have a felony and sell insurance. But before that happened, I'm out there prospecting. I'm up in Ventura County, and I'm at a car dealership, and this guy walks up to me and tries, car dealers,
Sure.
come out, salesmen come out. And this guy knew nothing about the car that I'm looking at, and I'm just pretending I'm, interested. And so he, doesn't know anything about cars, and I knew it, and I asked him, what did you do before? Because you clearly haven't been doing this very long. And he says, yeah, I was a cop up in Port Hueneme. I said, I'm an LA County Sheriff deputy too. What happened to you? And he says, got into steroids, turned into cocaine, stole $35,000 of cocaine out of the evidence locker, and got 5 years probation. It's like, wow. I mean, not the same, but me too. Mm-hmm. And so he went to treatment where I didn't, and he was already talking, to service organizations, schools, churches, and his therapist said, man, you'd be so good at doing intervention work. And so he had already done, but intervention, not like we know it today. It was more like go investigate and build a case and, then present and get the person in treatment. But anyway, we formed a friendship really, really quick. And I came home when I met him, not when I met him, but I went and heard him talk. And I said, Jenny, this is what I want to do. This is it. And so I went back to school to the University of Santa Barbara and got all my coursework done for certification for a counselor, and did it all in 1 year. So I took a 2-year program in 1 year. My father-in-law said, just you go to school. We got it. He was smart, to invest in me early on. And so I
Isn't
started.
that wild how when we get sober and we're ready, stuff like that just shows up?
I'm telling you.
Walked into, by chance, a car lot.
I mean,
and you're here doing what you're doing today because of that meeting, and you were ready for that
Yep.
meeting, and God put that person in front of your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's just, and we're still friends today.
That's cool.
He's a good friend of mine. He went back into investigation work. He's like a PI.
Oh, wow.
And I've used him a bunch of times on cases that, I needed a PI to find somebody and surveil and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, it's been such a wild ride. Worked inpatient, outpatient, worked in the school system, started our Carefrontations business in '88, but there wasn't enough interventions to carry us, financially. So I always had to have a full-time job in the field, and did that for the first 11 years before we just went completely solo and went national with our intervention work, and it's morphed into our family programming and support groups, and it's turned into really pretty good business.
Yeah.
Even though I wake up unemployed every day, it's still okay
You
by
guys are
me.
killing it.
Yeah.
I love it. So what do you like the culture of first responders, because it's something we're passionate about, and we have first responders of California under treat right now. And what do you think that culture's like when it comes to the mental health and the addiction, and
Yeah.
what do you see still? I mean, do you still pay attention to that world, or?
Oh yeah, I love that world. Number one, when I do an intervention for a first responder, whether it's military or law enforcement or even fire, I've got a quick in, because I'll just introduce myself as, hey, Scott Grahm, retired LA County. I don't tell them my whole story, obviously, but just retired LA County Sheriff. It's like, all right, come on in. So
Yeah.
I got an instant rapport. So it's an easier intervention from my perspective. But I think the taboo is still there. I think that there's been a whole lot of treatment programs that have tried to open up their doors to first responders, and most of them have failed because they can't get enough of them in there to keep that operation going. So consequently, you've got to blend them in with the general population, and that works too. I think that's a healthy thing to do, because the average lifetime expectancy after retirement is 5 years, and it's because they don't have a community. And they need to have a community more than just their first responder brothers and sisters. And so I think it is such a needed arena. I think that the powers to be, like the brass, the administration, if they could buy into it more and literally mandate help, because everybody who's got a problem in that arena is afraid to say, I've got help, for fear of reprisal, or they won't be trusted, or they'll be looked at differently. And that's what we're trying to do with just the general population, is take that taboo. So the problem's there, it's not going away. It's getting worse because of how society now is looking at law enforcement and I mean any civil service. They're the villain all of a sudden, which is just so crazy to think about. So they've got that, and they're not a bunch of touchy-feely kind of people. So they're going to go escape those tough feelings and emotions and situations through escapism of alcohol that can turn to drugs like me, or back to like me. So I love working with the first responders. I think that they're a different people, and they're no better or worse than anybody, but I look at them the same way I would look at, I mean, like a special unit, a Navy SEAL, a paratrooper. I mean, these guys that they're elite in their arena, and not to be compared though, because you can have a regular jail deputy or a patrol guy, and they're not Navy SEAls, but a lot of the guys that work in these arenas were in the military, or they were, high-level athletes, and that's the kind of personality that goes to that arena. So I love that Street's doing it. I think it's so necessary. I love the virtual aspect, so it's safer in that respect. I'm not a fan of, while a person's in treatment, placating them. I see that far too often, where they let people slide, and it's like, that's what got them in trouble in the first place.
Yeah.
They need to be held accountable, and my whole thing when I'm treating somebody is like, how can we find comfort in the uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're 38 years sober.
Yeah.
Right? Besides your career, which is awesome, like what's life like? Like when you think about that guy that got arrested, what were you, 28 when that happened?
Yep.
And you think about Scott now, what do you like reminisce on with life, and like here I am, and this is what's happened. And
it's really, I've got a different thoughts or different lanes in those thoughts I go into. One is like, man, I wish that somebody would have stepped into my life where I never would have ever taken that first drink or that first hit or that ever. I would have loved to see what my life would have looked like, substance and alcohol free. Would it be different? Would it be better? Would it be grander? Would it be less? I mean, it's all hindsight, right? I am grateful that I lived, first and foremost, because it's, that dark places that the drugs and alcohol created, that I created, made me the man I am today. I feel like I'm a better friend. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I've got 9 grandkids now, so I'm a better grandfather. I think I'm wiser. I think I'm more patient. I'm deeper. I think that addiction that's addressed, it's a gift. It's like I didn't ever have to go buy a red Corvette, a midlife crisis, because I had it when I was 28. And so there's the gift there too. So I'm grateful for it, but I look at it and it's like, oh man, what was I thinking? I kind of like shudder at just how incredibly insane my thinking had to have been. And not to beat myself up or feel guilty, regret a little bit, but not to where it takes me out or anything. I'm way past beating myself up, but it's almost like I don't want to make light of it, but I kind of laugh at it going, whoa, but it's given me such great insight to the ones that we're serving too. And it's like, we get it, we so get it.
And people feel that when you get it.
They do.
There's definitely a need for therapists and all that, but when, somebody's talking to somebody that's been there,
oh, I'm telling you, it's
a bond.
Well, it's interesting because that's been an evolution for me too. Because I know early on I'd see people who lived local. COVID opened up the doors for seeing people via Zoom, so it opened up that door again. And I always kind of touted myself as like, oh, I'm a short-term therapist. I just 4 or 5 sessions. It's like I'm not that smart. After I've been with you for 6 hours, I've just told you everything I know. It's like I'm done. And it's been different this last season where it's like, no, I've got more to give. The age is a gift too. Yeah. And I've got some clients that I've been seeing for a year, not consistently, intermittently, but they're like you said, they know they're safe. They know they're not going to get any bullshit from me. That I'm a truth teller, and I've age has also given me a creative spin that I didn't have before too. I'm better at asking probing questions that are meaningful, and people can appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, last question. What's your message to somebody who's just out there suffering, doesn't know where to turn, what to do, where to go? What do you tell that person?
Well, first and foremost, speak it to somebody that you trust. I mean, to be able to share your insecurities, your fears, your situation to somebody, I've found that it takes the power out of what it has over you. As long as you keep it silent, you continue to suffer in silence. And if you can bring your truth to the table with somebody who won't criticize or judge, but will be a truth teller and can help you find an avenue for change, I wished I would have had the wisdom to do that earlier, to have the strength to say, Chris, I'm struggling, dude. I need some help. And so that's one of my biggest frustrations, is that when people call me, they tend to have a lot of baggage. Mm-hmm. And it's been going on for a long time. It's like, what would it be like if people came earlier on when they knew they had the problem?
Right.
I mean, you have to be chronically mentally ill to not know there's a problem in River City. Mm-hmm. And to be able to say something about it sooner would make the help so much easier. And so there's no excuse not to get help, because whether you have money or you don't, insurance or you don't, there are people out there that will help you find the proper help or hold your hand until someone else will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And any family members that want to reach out to you guys, how do they get in touch with you?
They can just call us direct. We have a toll-free number, 844-588-3267. Our website is carefrontations.com, made up word. So instead of confrontations, C-O-N, it's Carefrontations.
Got it.
So yeah, just look us up. Our phone number's been the same for 3 decades plus, and we're easy to get a hold of. And we don't sell people anything. We don't force people. We just share what we know. And if somebody thinks it's going to be a good fit, they'll know it, and they'll ask us to help them. And we work really hard at not. We're not overpriced. There's a lot of people who do the same or similar work that we do that are so exorbitant, and that's okay if that's what they want to do. I've never felt good with that.
Yeah.
I want to see people put resource towards treatment and aftercare. And yeah, we make a little bit of money, but it's fair.
Yeah. Love it.
Cool.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you.